Organizations are looking to embed climate change within their structure itself, within the overall structure of the company, not just within a certain department, but within every department, within every activity. There may not be a full role for a chief sustainability officer.
So, shall we get started?
Absolutely, feel free.
Thank you very much. We know that some countries, institutions, and companies have begun appointing CSOs, while China's institutions have not yet initiated this practice. So, what are your thoughts on the job requirements and role of CSOs?
CSO is interesting. I'll start off by saying I don't believe the CSO role is a long-term role, if there is one, within an organization. All right. But if you look at an organization itself, there's really two sides to climate risk that are important. You got the financial impact side of climate risk, which is generally being dealt with by the chief risk officers within organizations themselves. And then the second is the impact that your organization itself has on the climate. That's where the sustainability officers generally fit within an organization, if in fact an organization does have them. Chief sustainability officers, I think where you'll find more of them, or most all, will be in what's called the quote-unquote real economy, meaning not within the financial services industry, but within industrial activities and other types of organizations. Risk management, frankly, is more about the financial impact of climate. So the CROs will generally be dealing with climate risk types of things. As it relates to the financial impact of climate risk. Now, chief sustainability officers, frankly, in many cases, they were appointed as a PR move, as a public relations move. It made the organization feel good. It allowed them, as I mentioned earlier, there's a reputation risk issue. It made them actually present themselves in a very positive way towards the industry itself, that they are actually taking climate change very seriously. And those officers were really focused in many ways on the supply chains that the organization itself was dealing with. They were dealing with the businesses within the company itself to ensure that they could measure the impacts that they were having and that the business itself was having on the environment. And they also tend to have a wider lens than just climate. They may also include broad governance issues and some social issues in addition to just impacts of sustainability. But I think organizations are looking to embed climate change within their structure itself, within the overall structure of the company, not just within a certain department, but within every department, within every activity. Once that becomes embedded, there may not be a full role for a chief sustainability officer going forward. That's why I have a little bit of I'm a little skeptical as to whether the role of chief sustainability officer is more of a long-term role, or if it is until the embedding of climate-related activities takes place within an organization, and then it transitions out as a full-time role, and it's embedded in every other activity within the organization. So that's my personal view. We'll see what happens over the coming years as to whether that pans out or not. But that's how I look at it at the moment.
Thank you very much for your answer. And with the swift evolution of AI technology, the financial sector's landscape is undergoing constant transformation. This trend brings forth both unprecedented opportunities and also challenges for risk management. So could you delve into the impact of AI on risk management, identification, assessment, citing real-world examples? And furthermore, how are prominent financial institutions worldwide harnessing AI technology to streamline decision-making processes in risk management?
It's really interesting, that area. We're actually developing a new certification program that we're going to be offering this fall on artificial intelligence and risk management. So it's very, very important. It's an important and growing area. I think it's at its very early phases, you might say. Generative AI, as you're well aware, is the new area that is taking the world by storm, you might say, but it also does raise a lot of risk management related issues. It's in its early phases, so I'm not going to say that we really have a lot of answers yet in terms of where risk management and how risk management might be dealing with things like artificial intelligence and generative AI. The first wave of adoption, though, that we've seen generally in this area has come in regulatory compliance, dealing with financial crime, credit risk, modeling and data analytics, cyber risk, and climate risk related activities. So you're seeing that type of activity. You're looking at it in a couple of different ways. Firms have been dealing with what they call virtual experts. A user can ask a question and receive a generated summary answer that's built from documents and other types of data sources within an organization or externally that's developed or brought in from external sources. It's taking now and it's automating what had been very time-consuming tasks. This is all very basic stuff as we start to learn more and more about it. And then it's being used also to accelerate the writing of code. So it's been really, really helpful in that regard. And I've seen and been told of examples of organizations that are using this where what has taken weeks is now taking literally just hours to do because of using AI, generative AI. Financial crime is another area. And using it for financial crime, it can source through a lot of data that would relate to financial crime, and it can generate what they call suspicious activity reports that's based on customer and transaction information, and it can automate the creation and updating of customer risk ratings. So there's a way it can be used to essentially help to ensure the organization's viability and its fight against financial crime. With credit risk, it's summarizing customer information, and it can help accelerate a bank's what they call end-to-end credit review process. It can draft credit memos and contracts and things along those lines. And they're using, and in many financial institutions are using AI, generative AI, to actually craft credit reports and extract customer insights from credit memos. So there's a variety of uses for it within the credit function within an organization. With modeling, it's a pretty obvious one here. It can accelerate the migration of legacy programming languages, you might say, such as you can switch from what they call SAS to COBOL to Python, for instance. It can automate the monitoring of model performance, and it can generate alerts. And in terms of cyber risk, it can check cybersecurity vulnerabilities within an organization. And it can use natural language to generate code for detection, generate detection rules, all right, and accelerate code development. And it's useful for what they call, there's a term that's called red teaming, which means simulating adversarial strategies and testing attack scenarios. In terms of the data, how it's analyzing that data. And I think from a modeling side, and using AI for modeling is a real issue because it's self-learning essentially. So for an organization to be able to explain to its senior management what a model is actually modeling is very difficult because the modeling is learning on the fly. And so how do you actually explain that to your organization to feel comfortable? And you have to be concerned with this thing called hallucinations, which is where, and you may be familiar with this, where you're looking at, it's taking in data, but it's making up an answer that really doesn't exist. So that's one that's very, very concerning. We're not fully there in terms of dealing with those issues. There's also the issue of ethics and bias. And do the models become, or how do you protect against bias that might be developing within the model that's self-generating code and doing all these other things that you've asked us to do. So we're still in the early stages, but it's really, really moving quickly.